So the next recipe on this note is, again, focusing on, using foods from that choose list. So like I said, I've got lots of people, because we talk about including a lower amount of fiber, just generally eating well, you hear so much about how fiber is so important and you need to have lots of fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And I always like to reiterate the point that eating well looks different for everyone, especially those who are experiencing cancer-related side effects. So in today's class, what that looks like is a bowel obstruction. So that means that there is some area from the bowel that is blocked. And when it is blocked, your poo might not pass, and that can cause nausea, vomiting, pain, no gas. All right. So we do have to limit the amount of fiber that we eat. Now, rest assured, there are plenty of foods that you can eat. So when we're talking about fruit or vegetables, you want to make sure that you are not eating the skin or seeds. We are advising that you cook your vegetables or fruit because this decreases the amount of fiber. And so that's something to think about. And so often on that avoid list, you want to have kind of really avoiding any type of leafy greens. So spinach, cabbage, kale, lettuce. You do want to avoid these because this has a lot of fiber. And again, it's causing a lot of bulk in your poo. Now, again, a lot of my clients, my patients, they complain because they're like, oh, that's part of a healthy diet. Rest assured, you can definitely get color from lots of other vegetables. The other thing that you want to stay kind of away from are high fiber grains. So making sure that you're having things that are more like white, so more refined flours. Okay, so not your whole grain breads, not your whole wheat breads, kind of steering clear of any type of breads with seeds or nuts, dried fruit, right? Bran buds, all bran. So these are things that you want to kind of avoid. However, having some sort of stir fry with a rice noodle, right? This is something that actually has less fiber, and that's something that we can do as well. And then top it off with those vegetables that are on your choose list. Now, since we are part of UHN, you're definitely able to Google or look in the UHN library under bowel obstruction. Okay, and there's a list of food. The title of this handout is called Low Fiber Diet for Partial Bowel Obstruction. So this is something that you could look into. So we have curated a specific recipe that, again, focuses on these low fiber foods. So here are we. It's there. We're good. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but welcome to our life online. So show us what you got. What did you come up with for, you mentioned a kind of a lower fiber dish. On that note, I do want to say that things that have protein, this is something that you don't have to worry about unless it's like beans or lentils or nuts. But things like chicken, fish, eggs, any types of meats, they don't have fiber. So these are foods that you don't have to limit. I'm going to stop talking. Jer, show us what you've come up with.
This is a recipe that I've always wanted to make. I've enjoyed it many times. And I have to give credit to some incredible family friends. So this is called Pancit. What we're making is Pancit. Pancit is a Filipino rice noodle dish, okay? Shout out to Lucy Cardozo, amazing and the Cardozo clan. I've enjoyed this dish from Lucy a couple times. It's amazing, it's delicious, and I thought it'd be a good idea to show you today. So I was privileged to receive the recipe from her, and I'm making like a few twists. So I hope, I always do that. I hope I don't upset anyone. But what we're doing here is we're gonna pack it with some of those veggies that are on the choose list, that are okay, that Steph talked about, okay? And we're gonna cook them through, but we're gonna incorporate rice noodles, okay? So not a whole grain, because that's something in this case, like Steph mentioned, we do want to try to avoid, but we're gonna be using rice noodles here. So this is a vermicelli rice noodle, just a thin rice noodle. You can find this, again, most grocery stores should have this. You could probably even order it online. And what you want to do in advance is just soak it in some water, okay, just so that it softens up. Okay, so here I've soaked it in water, and you can see it's nice and loose. I'll show you what it looks like dried. Okay, so that's it dried. So this one is in a little like square. You probably have them in like little rectangle bricks sometimes. Soak it in a little bit of water for a few minutes, drain the water, and then it's nice and loose like this, and then it's ready to cook at this point. But I've set this aside, okay? And for our veg, we're gonna be using some carrots, some zucchini, and we're gonna be using some red peppers as well. Typically in this recipe, I know that I think Lucy has added some green beans, if I'm not mistaken, maybe some cabbage. Those are ingredients that in this case, like Steph mentioned, too much fiber, we want to avoid. So we've just swapped those out with some of the okay vegetables. Now the the red pepper, this is just red bell peppers, is usually okay. However, if the skins do bother you, you can swap this out for roasted red pepper without the skins, okay? So we have our mound of veg here ready to go. I'm gonna start off with some garlic, okay? Now we talked about garlic, wanna avoid using the garlic or eating the garlic. However, we can still get the flavor from the garlic without actually eating it, okay? And that's what we wanna show you. So what I'm doing is with that garlic clove, putting it on my cutting board, so you can get that sealing cam there. And I'll knock off the end and just do just a gentle crush, okay, with the side of my knife. And that way the skin comes off pretty easily. Skin removed, okay? And it sort of exposes the garlic a little bit. So I've cracked it here, and I can already feel it starting to get sticky, but I want to leave it in its relatively whole state, okay? So that when I add it to my pan, so I've got a nice hot skillet here. Use a large one. You're gonna need a larger one. Come on. Okay. We're gonna add a little bit of oil. Okay, and I've got medium heat. But what I wanna do is add the garlic to the oil, okay? So what it's gonna do is it's going to flavor the oil with that garlic flavor. And then I just remove it after. That way we're not actually eating the garlic. If you're okay with garlic, obviously this is a class focused on recommendations for bowel obstruction, like Steph mentioned. If you're okay with the garlic, leave the garlic in. But in our case, for this class, we're just gonna flavor the oil and then remove it, okay? So leave it in for a couple minutes. I'm just trying to speed things up. And we're gonna go ahead, once that oil is nice and flavored, we're gonna go ahead and add our veggies. And I've just cut these into like thin strips, okay?
And so, Jer, we're cooking it now. Now, what if somebody wanted to remove that skin? What would you, or how would you suggest, like for the pepper or the zucchini?
Yeah, so the zucchini skin is I mean, it's very thin, but I mean, you can peel it if it's going to be an issue. And if you're using a large zucchini, there will be seeds in the middle. You usually don't find them as much of an issue with the grocery store zucchini, but let's say if you're growing one, or if your neighbor gives you one, there's gonna be a lot of seeds. So you can just take a spoon and score those out. With the peppers, what you can do is char them over either a barbecue, or if you have a gas stove, or you can even char them in your oven under the broiler. just until the skins sort of blister and become you're kind of burning it. And then let it cool, and then you're going to remove those skins, and then you have the really nice roasted pepper underneath. You can also buy it jarred, roasted, to save you some time.
Excellent.
But this is the season for red pepper, so check it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then again, like just a different way, right, of getting different colors. You have orange, you have red, you have green in this beautiful dish. And these are all ones that you're definitely, it's good to have. And yeah, great.
Well, we got our veggie stir frying over here. Okay, and this is going to take probably a few minutes. Toss them up. Got them on medium heat. What we want to do is, this is extra if you have the time. I know that Lucy does this, so we're trying to follow in her footsteps. Put a chicken. Now we're using a smaller piece. I actually use just half a chicken, but you can put a whole chicken in a pot, cover it with some cold water, and let that simmer until it's cooked. Okay, so about an hour, maybe more, just until the meat shreds apart easily. Like in this case, it's pulling off really easily. Okay, and we're gonna add that chicken to this mix as well. But that broth, that really flavorful broth, is what we're gonna be cooking the noodles in. Okay, this is the next step. If you don't want to do this step, you can just even use a veggie stock or a chicken, a low sodium or no sodium chicken stock, and you can just that way. But otherwise, really simple. Just put some chicken pieces in your pot. I have some onion for flavor. Again, we're not eating the onion in this case. We're just using it for flavor. And so I'm going to remove this, put it into a bowl, and we can shred that chicken up to add these veggies.
Yeah. And just, again, reiterating, like cooked meat, poultry, fish is more than okay to use. You don't have any fiber included in that. You could cook these, meat, poultry, or fish by roasting. You could stew. You can broil, poach. You do want to keep it moist and tender so that something is easy to chew. Anything that's tough or overcooked, like meat, sausages, or other processed meats with casings or skin, or fish with skin and bones, that's going to be a little bit tougher. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. And I just reiterating, because there was a question, the vegetables that Jeremy added were carrots, red pepper, and zucchini. Looks really great.
Yes, there was another question I think up there. Steph, I don't know if you answered it.
So there was
woody herb. So I think I mentioned that in the last one, not to avoid them, but the woody herbs, so like rosemary, oregano, thyme, they're a little more intense, they're a little stronger, so we don't want to add too much. We can add them, but just in small amounts. That was for the last recipe. So hopefully.
So just to clarify, that was not necessarily because of the fiber, it was just more of the flavor profile. But obviously everybody's different, right, in terms of their taste. So from a taste and chef's perspective, you might want to go easy on some of those woodier flavors.
Okay, so we're getting some really nice color on these veggies here. I've added my noodles to that pot of chicken broth for just, read the package, should take only like 2-3 minutes. It shouldn't take long at all. You don't want them to get too soggy. And we're going to dress it with a little bit of lime at the end, okay? Just for some citrus. Now, there is a citrus fruit that is typically used in the Philippines. I think it's called calamansi. It's like a cross between like a lime and an orange and even like a lemon. It's this amazing citrus fruit. Here in Toronto, you could probably find it in some, maybe some specialty grocery stores, but it'd probably be harder to find. So in this case, we're just going to use a lime, okay?
And just on that note, though, I just want to say that juicing, okay, is okay. So if you want to make homemade juices, You just want to make sure that you don't want to include the pulp or the skins or those seeds. Remove all of that, whether that's a fruit or vegetable. Okay. Now, so just wanted to add that in there.
Okay, so the chicken that we were simmering in the pot, we just shredded into smaller pieces. I'm going to add that as well. Now, obviously, you can keep this vegetarian if you want, right? So to the veggies, again, probably not traditional, but you can add some tofu if you want, some tofu strips in there, right? You can do, even throw a can of chickpeas. Again, make this your own. It's, not the traditional route, but adding a little bit of protein, even if it's from plant-based sources, is a good idea, and you have options. So for today, we're going to be using some of that shredded chicken, but you can use whatever you want at home. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a little toss, and then for seasoning, we're going to be using just a little bit of soy sauce. Now, soy sauce, obviously higher in sodium, but that's going to be sort of our salty condiment, okay? So we're just going to add just a little bit here. Give that a nice little toss. Beautiful. And the noodles are done. So we're going to toss in the noodles. And we'll add a little bit of that broth as well. I don't want to add too much, but we just want that flavor to help it reduce a little bit. And then just toss everything in with the noodles. And again, super colorful and super hearty. Like, this is a really, really nice dish with the rice noodles.
And I love it because it's balanced, right? We talk about getting your color, your grains, and your protein. We've got some healthy fats in there. So, we're really creating this all-around balanced meal.
All right. Beautiful. I mean, this looks, I don't know if you guys can see.
Yum.
Really good. So we're going to finish it with just a little bit of lime juice on top. And I like a little bit, maybe we'll add a little bit of green. I have some extra cilantro here. Again, probably not traditional, but we're going to add some. Got a lot of cilantro haters out there, so you don't have to add cilantro. It's not necessary. But there we go. We have our full, super vegged up Pancit recipe courtesy of Lucy Cardozo. Thank you again. And here's another one.